with regard to the alt-right, I just can't believe we're still discussing this as if there's anything salvageable with that shit show. You have the title of your show here this morning, Luke. Art of Debate with Jim Goad, Nick Fuentes, Baked Alaska Irony Bros. Really, that crowd, Jim Goad, really. And by the way, I've tended aside from your show, I tend to listen to Mr. Forney. Sometimes as much as I listen to yours, and he's spot on a lot of his critiques of this dumpster fire that is called the alt-right, and particularly with regard, to the grand poobah Richard Spencer. The alt-right is a combination of a prison gang and Scientology. You have the criminal element that is just like a prison gang. And then you have the Scientologists, which are what I call the virgins, the ones that haven't got their criminal record yet, but by God, they're dying to get one. They're dying to get out there and get arrested, get that anal probe when they're arrested and have that criminal record. So, and they act just like it. They can't stand any degree of critique of their severely flawed leaders. And I say flawed, that's character. 99% of the problem with the alt-right is character. They have absolutely no, and that's correct. I do. I'm reading and I'm reacting to a comment in the chat. Nick Fuentes is effeminate. Also, he loves to talk about thoughts. He loves to talk about Catholic morality, but he does not address his own lesbian sister. So, you have to change begins at home, Mr. Fuentes, is my message to him. But getting back to the they have a severe character problem. They've never honed a true message in terms of developing a political ideology that they could go out and sell to the broader public. At least the National Socialists in Germany did that. They went out and appealed right to the huge center of Germans, both in the left and to the right. The alt-right has absolutely nothing except Richard Spencer constantly talking about how aesthetically pleasing he is, which he is not aesthetically pleasing. As soon as he opens his mouth, yeah, okay, foul, Rodney, not fair. Okay, put a few more hashtags up there, Elliot. Go ahead and see where you go. They also suffer from their own echo chamber. They talk to themselves online. They create their little chat rooms, and then they look at how many likes they get from each other and think that translates into mass support. Then they get their tiki torches, which is the stupidest thing. I mean, go down, you can get actual marching they are available, and go out and put some cash together, for Christ's sake, with your organization. And anyway, they take this echo chamber and they think that is mass support. So then when they engage in their street marches, first of all, they chose the wrong area. They go deep into enemy territory where they have no support there at all, no resources. And then when half of their marchers leave, Spencer doesn't have the brains enough to say, you know what, I think we better withdraw and return another day. He gets all of his people beat up, put in prison, and doxxed, and then they have these huge civil suits. So I mean, we can go on and go on and go on and go on. And I think what you're doing is you're beating a dead horse that is not only dead, but it's been rotten, and now you have the carcass that the bones are exposing. And as far as, Luke, I appreciate your comment there. Yes, I have sustained a marriage career. I have sustained, not only that, but my, personal life in terms of being able to pay my bills, which Richard Spencer cannot. And I even challenge the premise that he is independently wealthy, because I've looked at the forensic evidence, namely legal filings, where he could not even pay for the medical insurance to keep his 7-month, 8-month pregnant wife, sustained with medical insurance, nor could he go in and pay for a $4 mixed drink. I mean, geez, if he wants to sit down and I'll give him some advice, I'll even pay for his freaking drink.
Rodney, that seems a little fair to blame Fuentes for not doing something about his lesbian sister. A brother can't, in this day and age, decide his sister's sexual choices.
Well, it's been brought up. He has no problem critiquing and attacking everybody else, and when that is brought up, he runs away from it. I'm sorry. Mr. Fuentes is a wannabe Limbaugh shock jock. Also, he is on par with those irony bro dudes, and he loved. I remember again. Keep in mind, I was not a fan of Patrick Little either. That guy's a fucktard, supersized. And anyway, probably rode the short bus in school. And but in a debate with him, the irony bros talked about fuck the troops are gay, and Nick Fuentes yucked it up too like a typical little juvenile idiot. And I'm sorry, you can't sit there and run and be Mr. Uber America first, and with your little flags in the background, and then make comments like that. Um, I can expand on that where you talk where much of the alt right tough. There was a saying at the 1992 Republican convention: "Be careful with regard to liberals. They'll talk like Dirty Harry, but act like Pee Wee Herman." That essentially is the alt right. All of their combat experience stems from video gaming. If you were to put them in a real combat setting, they'd shit their pants and cry for mommy. Yeah, Rodney doesn't get it. Okay, all right.
Matt, can you say where you're living these days, approximately?
I'm somewhere in the Caucasus, so I'll leave it at that.
And how is that experience? I've never lived there, let alone even visited there.
It's strange. It's interesting. It's like being a place that's really literally on the cultural intersection between Europe and the Middle East. So you get like a bizarre mix of both influences. And very tight-knit conservative culture where basically like a lot of the social ills that plague America and Europe are very weak to non-existent. Not a lot of English proficiency, which is a kind of a good thing because it actually is spurring you to learn the local language. And in general, pleasant place to live. Not really a heavy party destination, but I'm not really a heavy party person. So, and the specific country where I am is a good place to actually do business due to all the getting rid of all their regulations and stuff. It's a very good place to do business.
Hey, Luke.
Yes,
Luke,
sir.
If I can make one final comment, if you're going to change topics. Remember, I came onto your stream. Of course, you and I had done some streams, years back, which I'm not sure people understand that. But I came onto your stream, and in terms of this character issue and things, I was consistent, and I'm sure you can test that years back about this issue. I've always had this position, but I came on your stream and said these things, telling the younger alt-right, the ones, like I've said, there's the prison gang element, the ones that already have their criminal record and their life is essentially limited. And then there's Scientologists that are just, have indoctrinated themselves and they can't wait. And I've been consistently said, do not screw up your life where you're basically have a tattoo across your freaking forehead saying I am a fucking moron, don't hire me, don't marry me, etc. And that's what they do, and I've consistently said don't do that. And keep in mind, I took quite a lot of fire on that, but I think as you've seen the discussion on your show and in your chat evolve, I've been proven correct, I think. And I'm not patting myself on the back about that. However, what I do find somewhat laughable is Richard Spencer's new narrative about, we need to take back Charlottesville. And like I said, I'm going to repeat it again. General Field Marshal von Paulus, 1945 and 46 and 47, when he was in Soviet captivity, did not want to go back and reclaim Stalingrad. And that's exactly what Charlottesville was for the alt-right. That was the Stalingrad of the alt-right, and Richard Spencer was Friedrich von Paulus. Except Friedrich von Paulus had the wherewithal to surrender anew when he was beat.
Rodney, you asked why I keep picking over the bones of the alt-right. Number one answer is that I think a stream has to respect its core audience, and my core audience is alt-right. And
Okay.
number two, even if the alt-right is dead and buried, white identity politics can only grow, and eventually I would think that in the United States that it will become as powerful as it is in Italy and Hungary and other parts of Europe.
Okay, you know how that happened, though. At least, Luke, is in Europe. They went through that phase that the dissident right in the United States has been stuck in for 50 years, and they actually, have good order and discipline. And when they see a moron come up and is doing a lot of the stuff that the alt-right in the United States still does and has been doing, they actually have good order, discipline, standards, character, and they get rid of them. I mean, you still see it, every once in a while, but it's not pervasive as it is here in the United States. And that's why they have been able to get elected to office. That is why the AfD in Germany, and I have some issues with the AfD, but by God, for German standards, at least there's a right-wing party in the German Bundestag for the first time since 1945, and they went from zero to they're basically the second largest party now. It has to do with character, good order, standards, discipline, and policing themselves. And so I think actually, I was made that statement kind of in a pun, Luke, but I think having this type of discussion and also reminding, the younger kids that are coming up in this, do not screw up your life. Get married, have some kids, get an education, get a career, and base your right-wing dissent on ideas and a philosophy and a worldview.
Rodney, I was reading a book this week which is about brain trauma, and it's called The Body Keeps Score. And I want to reread a paragraph from it, which I think is very applicable to the alt-right as well as other extremist movements. Isolating oneself into a narrowly defined victim group promotes a view of others as irrelevant at best and dangerous at worst, which eventually only leads to further alienation. Gangs, extremist political parties, and religious cults may provide solace, but they rarely foster the mental flexibility needed to be fully open to what life has to offer, and as such cannot liberate their members from their traumas. Well-functioning people are able to accept individual differences and acknowledge the humanity of others. What do you think about that paragraph as a critique of the alt-right?
I would agree. And Luke, as you recall, I got into kind of a hot water on your stream, but I am absolutely against this victim bullshit and always have been. To me, there's fundamentally no difference between the alt-right and Black Lives Matter. They're both on their knees crying about all these grievances, and they don't articulate any ideas. And you can't, Richard Spencer, for instance, talks about how, he props up and talks about how great white civilization was, blah, 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 blah. But then in the next minute, you have them, they go schizophrenia and then talks about how oppressed and how horrible things are. It's a conflicting narrative. You can't tell your people, your followers, your supporters, whoever they are. And I'm not, convinced that, Spencer is as popular as people think that he is in terms of a following. You can't tell them in one breath how great and superior and how we should be ruling the world, and then in the next minute say those that you should rule over have you on your knees and you're a victim. I mean, it makes absolutely no sense.
Right. What are you reading these days, Rodney?
I'm actually still reading Professor Eugen Weber's book on. It's a 1,500-page text, Luke. It's huge, and keep in mind it's the holiday time. I have a slew of kids and a couple of grandkids, and so I'm kind of in. This is kind of my favorite time of year. So I'm kind of even in holiday mode. But I'm trying to get through that book. I'm actually right now. I'm in the immediate pre-World War I period. And if you haven't found that book on Amazon, Luke, I highly recommend it.
I'm sorry. Tell me the name of the book again and the author.
It's Eugen, Professor Eugen Weber. He was probably the highly respected UCLA history professor, and it's his book on Western civilization.
Right. And wow, it's we've been talking for years, and it's true. You're absolutely consistent, and people can have their criticisms of Rodney, but one thing you can't say is that he's a chameleon.
That's right. Well, that's one thing. Also, is the alt-right suffers some inconsistency. You have you noticed it's 1 minute. 1 minute it's we're going to be identitarianism. Next minute we're going to be white nationalists. Next minute we're going to be ethno-nationalists. It's almost as if we want to go out and interact with the mainstream media, which you don't have to do that. This thinking that you actually have to interact with the mainstream media, you're actually giving them an invitation to beat the hell out of you and define you. That's crazy. But anyway, and then when they do the mainstream media, and the mainstream media does a slice and dice and defines you in a manner in which you don't want to be defined, then all of a sudden, well, we better change the brand. We screwed that up. Or you invite the media into your private event, i.e. the Atlantic, and you do a few Sikh ales with a martini glass, and you screw up and derail your momentum. Then you have to go through and rebrand there. Or you march into Charlottesville, which you should not have done, or you don't withdraw when you should. Then you have to, rebrand. That's been also a fundamental problem. I don't know if you've noticed it, Luke, is a complete inconsistency on the message. Keep in mind, there's a difference between the ideology and the message. And the message has been schizophrenic at best, and there's been no ideology.
Hey, Luke, sorry for shitting up the chat a little bit. Thanks for the invite again. But I just get so, I'll admit this, I get so triggered whenever I hear people like Rodney here. You don't have anything positive to say at all. All you want to do is armchair quarterback and say the stuff that I know because of hindsight should have been obvious to you, idiot. And that doesn't impress anybody, Rodney. But let me ask you a question. Specifics, because I'd like to bring out some specifics, unlike what you do. I'd like to ask you about this whole victimhood mindset thing. Because
I brought up specifics. You just haven't been listening because you don't like, you don't operate on facts and truth. I mean, go back to Charlottesville. I brought up plenty of specifics. The fact that you don't like
that Charlottesville
being said.
You have no idea what you're talking about. You have no idea what you're talking about. I was there. You don't know what you're talking about. Nobody knew Richard Spencer where he was. He didn't give orders. We're not troops following Richard Spencer. You're vastly overestimating the reach he has for people in the alt-right.
Well, then go reclaim Charlottesville. Go reclaim Charlottesville because anybody that was there was foolish.
Do that.
Go reclaim it.
Reclaim it.
Because what did you
Rodney, stop. What did you reclaim Charlottesville?
Richard Spencer.
When did he say this and where? Point me to it, please.
He said it last week on his stream. I think the first stream with your term where it's renamed the Richard Spencer Show. He talked about that the alt-right needs to reclaim Charlottesville as a victory.
Okay, well, let me tell you this. That is the most retarded idea I've ever heard. Is that what you want me to say?
Thank you for agreeing with me.
Let me ask you a question, Robert. Yeah, sure. I'm not an unreasonable person. If there's a dumb idea in the air, I don't care if Richard Spencer is the one that floated it. But here's my question. You talk about this victimhood mindset, right? Okay. Mm-hmm. What on earth could I or anybody else who is for white advocacy, what could you possibly put in a sales pitch as to why white people are doing worse and worse the more non-whites that come into their country? How could I possibly frame that in a way that you, the all-knowing boomer Rodney, will not criticize as victimhood mentality?
First of all, you're ignorant. First of all, you're ignorant.
We can do this all day. Hold on.
Get some facts out there.
Oh, pal. My fucking shit.
Boomer.
Go ahead, old man.
First of all, I'm not a boomer, so you have to. First of all, your message has to be factually accurate. So you need. First, I would encourage you to, go back, get on your computer, get out your little notepad, and come up with like 10 points. Preferably 5, because the average American has a retention span of probably a fly. So it has to be boom, 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 boom. It has to be really simple. And now, as far as white advocacy, tell me tell me how you are not doing as well as, say, a Mexican.
Okay, sure.
Come on.
That would be
Give me
pretty easy,
three.
Rod.
Let's have three right now. Just let's have it.
Hey, Rodney,
Okay,
Rodney,
Rodney, let Dingo speak. So let's not interrupt each
Rodney.
other. So go ahead, Dingo. You have the floor.
In it when you ask somebody a question. So three things. That's pretty easy. One, we're being pushed out of the job market, sector by sector by sector. Have you ever bothered to ask yourself why people from the Middle East almost have a monopoly on gas stations / liquor stores? It's something called the E2 visa. It contributes greatly to it. It's a big disgusting web of goo that I'm sure you probably couldn't process, and we don't have time to go into, but I have done research. All right, that's one. Two, whenever this country goes to shit, finally, and it's done, and it's unresurrectable, Mexicans will have a place to go back, a country full of people that look just like them. Because here's what I know: diversity plus proximity equals conflict. And when they go back to Mexico, they will have their little ethno state. The thing that you think I am preaching a victimhood mindset because I want white people like everybody else has. Three, how are we being victim? Well, I can tell you a little story just a couple of years ago of MS-13 kidnapped some 15-year-old kid, held him for ransom, and whenever the dad was able to raise half of it, they cut his fucking kid in half and sent him the top half back. They are kidnapping white women in Mexico. It's literal sexual slavery. I mean, how can I continue to list the ways that Mexicans are displacing white people? They're the second largest demographic in the fucking country. In what, 15 years they've moved into that spot? How much crime do they commit? Barely under black people. Rodney, what else would you like me to go? I mean, what else do you need, Rodney?
Okay, Rodney, if you can unmute and come back in. Okay, we've.
I'm here. Okay, now whose fault is all that? Whose fault? Whose fault?
So we're moving the goalpost now. You asked me to describe it. Now what?
No, I didn't move any goalpost. Whose fault? And by the way, as Lucas said, I have been consistent. I have said from day one, first of all, anybody that says they're going to save America or you're going to change all of that are full of shit. Sorry. And by the way, Mexico has their ethno state. It's basically a state within a state. It's presently about 5 United States states in the Western United States. 5 of the most rapidly growing Hispanic states are former Confederate states. Did you know that? Yeah. So, you're not telling me anything, but, as far as victimhood and crafting your message, being down on the floor and saying, well, woe is me. How are you going to empower people? How are you going to empower people to join by constantly saying, these bully Mexicans. Sorry. And by the way, Mexicans aren't just ethnically cleansing or doing it. They're actually harder on the blacks than they are the whites. They're ethnically cleansing entire communities in Los Angeles. So that's just how they roll.
In terms of violent crime, maybe, but it's not black people who are fucked right in the butt by Mexicans. Because guess what? Black people have that beautiful, beautiful little safety net that we call the welfare state to catch them whenever their McDonald's job gets taken by a Mexican. Okay, white people do not. They don't.
Well,
and you want to sit here and talk about victimhood and whatever. How does one go about explaining these negative effects without Rodney coming up with his football jersey being like, oh, you're a bitch?
Well, you are a bitch. You're being a bitch right now. What is your political message? What is your political ideology? Where do you what is your message? Because guess what?
I'll tell you if you want
to. I'm all ears.
Because my political message. Listen here, white people. You've been convinced that there is no such thing as a white identity. You've been convinced that white is not a thing. But here's the deal. White is a group. It is a race. European is a race. And you are being displaced. 20 years ago, we were 18% of the population of this planet. And now we're about 6.5%. You're being economically, demographically replaced by outsiders. Why is it only that white countries why are they all being browned up? But not a single country that's not white does not have the right to stay their little ethno state. You are being duped. Wake up. That's my political message.
Okay, well, that doesn't work. And that doesn't work every bit as much as I do. Now, you do know that Americans will react to an economic-based message before they will react to a racially based message. So when you were to go, you're almost there. So if you were to tell Americans, hey, and that's how Trump got elected, by the way. Trump got elected by hitting the economics issue. So if you were to tell people, you know what, you're getting economically replaced, you probably have you're pretty close to having something that they can wrap their minds around, their little minds around. Also, you have about 45% of the white population that you will never reach. They are left or center left that you will never ever reach. That leaves you with about probably 30% with something that can that you can work with. So you have to also understand who you're going to be talking to.
Oh, I didn't know I was talking to God on the other end of this call. I'm glad that you know exactly how the percentage of the population is going to think in the future whenever certain stimuli, flare up their brains, Rodney.
Well,
but here's the thing.
I'm just so happy. Hold on. I'm just so happy you guys have been so successful. You got your asses handed to you in Charlottesville. You got deplatformed. You can't raise any money. Your meetings can be held in a fucking phone booth. You guys are always bitching because you can't get any women, so you're jacking off and masturbating to porn. You guys are in such great shape, and yet you're bitching when somebody comes on and says, acknowledge the facts, come up with a political ideology, at least in regroup, and stay out of fucking jail. You're a complete waste of time.
Rodney, you just got done saying how the entirety of the system, economic and governmental, has their foot on our back and is fucking us at every turn.
Oh, no, I didn't say that at all. I didn't say that at all.
Shut the fuck up, Rodney. It's hard to acknowledge those facts without sounding like a victim, in your opinion, wouldn't you say?
I didn't say that at all.
That's exactly what you just did.
Accept responsibility.
Okay, I want Dingo and Rodney to take a 5-minute break.
Okay. Well, look, the alt-right, first of all, is not a thing in terms of a political organization. I've said before, the biggest weakness is that it's an umbrella group. You have libertarians in there, you have conservatives in there, you have some of the old alt-right, white nationalist 1.0s in there. So they don't even agree on everything. So that was its fundamental flaw, and it had no really message that it articulated. So when it showed up like at Charlottesville or elsewhere, it was easy to be defined by its opponents because it had nothing to identify itself. Because you ask one person in that group what it stood for, and they would say something, and then you ask another person and be something fundamentally different. So the alt-right was always easy for the opponents of the alt-right to define it, because the alt-right itself was an amalgamation of political schizophrenia.
It's hard to even disagree with that point. So I got nothing on that.
And by the way, Dingo, it's not that I don't have anything good to say. Actually, have. It's just that I don't want to see the younger guys in the alt-right get put in prison, have happened what happened to that one, and I can't remember his name right offhand, that got jumped by those blacks, defended himself, and now he has the felony. I don't want to see that happen. I don't want to see the young kids in the alt-right or the dissident right get led astray by leaders that always come out on top smelling like a fucking rose, and then they're in prison and their lives are fucked forever. Because I've seen that in White Nationalist 1.0.
Hi, Luke Ford here. How are you, Boomer Ford? You gentlemen having a great debate?
I like this guy. Yeah, what's up there, bud? What's up, Luke?
Oh, it's just having a wonderful time here, watching you guys debate about things that really matter. Like stuff that everybody's already familiar with. It's fantastic. Please carry on. I'm going to do a little bit more housekeeping.
Keep in mind, Aryans, those are Persians. Remember that.
I don't even know what that means, man.
Well, they get really, they call themselves Aryans. You know that, Persians.
Oh, no. Now I know what you're talking about. This is the same thing where people were trying to tell me that the Iranians or the original Aryans or like some weird fucking stuff that I didn't care about. Somebody was.
They say that. They say that. I didn't say it. I said they say that.
Right. Yeah. It was just boring bullcrap that nobody cares about. Anybody who calls himself Aryan or whatever, it's that's why would you even call yourself a national socialist? Just so at the beginning of every political debate, you need to explain that you're not pro genocide. Like, I mean, come on, it's just a bad look, man. Like, it's just, who cares?
Joaquim, not Joaquim. Joaquim is in the chat, but Bryden, how would you describe your worldview?
I don't know, relatively right wing. I'm extremely
Whoa.
pro America not losing its battle that it's in at the moment. I mean, like, just if everybody leave each other alone, that'd be nice. So like, you can kind of say libertarian, but even that, I hate the Libertarian Party, and they're not socially conservative enough. But I don't know, man. I mean, PaleoCon's not right. I really like Pat Buchanan. Like, I mean, that's I don't know. That's the way I describe it.
That's a paleo conservative.
Yeah, I know. I wouldn't let myself in there. But I'm not trying to be a snowflake. I'm not smart enough to like put myself in any one group. Like, I want to kind of just, everybody should fuck off and leave everybody alone. You know, why does everybody have to ruin everything for everybody else? And I'm talking specifically to you, minorities.
Yeah, well, you know, liberals and conservatives don't leave everybody alone.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
You know.
So I invited Joaquim Hawk on the show, and he replied. I asked him, "Would you like to come on?" He replied in the chat, "Now I hate you."
Well, that guy, the only thing I know about Joaquim is he's like friends with Spencer, and then I got on him for sending bad tweets recently, but I just blocked him again. But like, I have no personal issue with the whole heel turn people. I just think that it's goofy and dumb. Like, I just don't see the point. I don't get it. But it's not for me to get. You know, I don't. Again, I don't care what other people do at this point. Like, I'm getting old, so I just don't care.
So, I mean, I think it's a shame that Joaquim had to leave his own show. I mean, that must have been some pretty intense feuding that he had going on, but apparently people were trying to release his family's medical records, which is absolutely disgusting.
Find out that they all have sickle cell, and it's like, whoa, he's black. Like, yeah, all right. I didn't hear about that. I didn't hear about any of that. Can somebody like let me know the whole heel turn saga? Because I know it used to be a thing where like the Irony Bros went on there and like BTFO'd Mike Enoch and Sven, and then now like Richard Spencer hosts the heel turn thing. Like, I'm sorry if this is repetitive to people, because somebody really let me know what the heck happened.
Yeah, the alt-right is riven with feuds, and they get increasingly intense. And so since Trump's election, they devoted far more time to hating each other and destroying each other than they have to directing fire on the enemy. And so I don't know much about heel turn, but I know that Joaquim got into some god-awful feud that just spiraled and spiraled till people were posting his family's medical records. I mean, that is such a level of hell. I can't even imagine what that's like.
But who cares? What is it like? Oh, it's his medical records. Like, oh, his mom had the flu in 1992. Who cares?
Well, if it was the claps, he wouldn't want those posted, for Pete's sake. But how did they get him, Luke? How did they acquire this information?
I don't know, but it's not as difficult as one might think. There are tricks. I mean, the National Enquirer routinely gets the medical information of celebrities who go to UCLA hospital through a source that they have at UCLA. But when you really hate someone, you're going to devote time to try and get it down. And that's
well, I mean, first, you'd think they'd have to be worth it. I mean, to do it to begin with. I mean, shit.
Dude, being mad at somebody knows no fucking $sign, all right? Like, all information is available if you're willing to pay for it. Like, that's just a sad truth of reality. It's just a reality. And, you know, you got to be really, really careful about that as far as, like, making enemies on the internet. Very petty people have ruined a lot of just, like, normal individuals' lives. You know, that's what these docs journalists do constantly, is that, like, over at the Atlantic and all of that. They will pay for information from anywhere, and you can get it. Everything has a price on it. So,
hey, so Luke, may I ask? So, is posting medical records the alt-right equivalent to revenge porn? I just figured I'd ask that.
Yeah.
I just don't know who would care. Like, I really don't. I was like, oh no, like it's you could go after my mom and I'll be like, yeah, she's old. She's a frail old lady. Like, who cares?
I don't even think the average alt-righter could even read medical records. I don't think their IQ is high enough to read that terminology.
That's a really good point, actually, because like I saw some thing on Ginsburg the other day, and I looked at it. Now I'm not an alt-right person, but I looked at it, and I didn't know what the heck anybody was saying on that. I don't know what any of that stuff means. You know, like the only alt-right person that I know that's like a medical person. Well, no, there's two. I guess Spectre and then McNabb, who was on your show last night. Who I don't like TRS at all, but I think McNabb got done dirty. You know, that's whatever. But those are the only medical people. Everybody else in the alt-right or whatever, a bunch of nerds who like don't have jobs except for like movie theaters and crap. So who cares?
Yeah, McNabb, though, to be honest, McNabb didn't help himself any. He kind of, kept shooting himself in the foot.
Yeah, but I mean, it was funny. It was for our entertainment. I watched that. I watched that hour and a half video thing. It was really funny. They had the black preacher there and all that. Like, I mean, it was like the Reverend Jesse Jackson Jr. Whatever.
Well, did you notice when they called the lawyer, the attorney for the rescue squad of white supremacists, he almost cried? I mean, he literally, after he shit his pants, then he started crying.
Maybe you're with me. I'm not sure. What is your name, man? Rodney. Maybe you're with me on this. I just can't imagine caring what, just some stranger thinks about you on that.
I can care less. I can care less what my own family thinks about me. So let alone what some idiot thinks about me. I mean, that's just how I roll. So
you should care what your family thinks about you to a certain extent, man. But like, no, that's you're right. The guy did almost like cry, and it's like, this is just like a stranger, like who cares? I get it's a small town, so maybe that's the difference. But man, that was just like such a weird video. I encourage everybody to go watch it. McNabb, I got to tell him, was very funny in the way that he handled himself there. Perhaps not the most professional, but he did just scream, "I'm a professional," and that was really funny. Classic line of the end of 2018 there.
And do you lose sleep worrying about the survival of the white race, Bryden?
I don't sleep a lot just because I can't really sleep that much. But I don't think it's about the white race. I'm pretty sure that I just have a sleep inconsistency thing. I am 99% sure it's not about Europa.
Yeah, a Russian vodka will help you sleep at night.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't drink as much as I used to, so I don't sleep as heavily as I used to. I used to drink myself to sleep. Now I drink about 2-3 times a week. And no, I mean, I just wake up at like 5 a.m. and then I work like a human being. And sometimes if I'm lucky, I'll have a nap around like 5-6 o'clock, wake up, be a jerk on the internet to random people like Luke Ford. And, then I go to bed. But yeah, I don't think any of the insomnia light that I have has to do with my white race or whatever. I mean, ultimately, I understand all of that stuff, and I can agree with you guys. It is very unfortunate. I don't want to be a minority in my own country, but I don't care about Europe. I only care about America, and I'm even fine with this being like a multi-ethnic thing. I just want to be the majority, but we can't be multicultural, and that's what happens when you just import everything into my country, which is America. I don't care about any other country. The only white people on the planet, by the way, are Australia and America. Everybody else is just like trash. But I don't lose sleep over it, man. You can't lose sleep over the inevitability of getting old. I care more about the fact that I'm getting old and like I have high blood pressure than I care about, oh my goodness, our white race bullcrap, because it's gonna drive you crazy, and it'll make you an unlikable person if that becomes your personality. Is I only care about that. Ugh.
Do you feel oppressed?
Me personally, no. My life's pretty cool.
Okay.
Bryden,
yeah,
just a second, Rodney. Bryden, how do we get a syndicated show on Sirius?
Completely rebrand, probably change your names, get a skin graft of a different face, and yeah, no, there's no way, dude. I'm sorry. Like, I mean, you're the best in, Luke, because like you're Jewish, right? But they even look at you and they're like, you're fake Jewish. You know, they're not going to ever let you in. I'm sorry, you're never getting it. You're never getting in on that. The fact is, like, you're not an acceptable form of conservatism, buddy. You're just not. So no, you're doomed to be on YouTube until you get banned from YouTube. It's just gonna happen, and that'll be. I'm gonna tweet you when you get banned from YouTube. I'm gonna tweet at you. LOL. That's hilarious.
Let's get Southern Dingo in here.
I'm just curious about something Bryden said about my white race or something like that. What so is it undesirable to talk about how the white race is going extinct and it's kind of being carried out systematically all over the world as a plan?
I think it's a bad plan to obsess over it. I mean, talking about it's fine, but people are not going to be receptive to that. They're going to be a lot more receptive to the white culture dying. They're going to be more receptive to the fact that they're being economically taken out. That's what Americans, at least, are going to be more receptive to. Nobody, and this is the part of just Jewish media. But when you go on about like, oh, the white race or whatever, people shut off. They've been programmed to shut off. So it's just not an effective strategy. I just find it to be stupid. It's not that I don't care about it. It's just that I know normal people don't care about it, and you're just setting yourself up to be branded, you know, a genocidal neo-Nazi maniac. And that's not fair. That's not fair, but life's not fair. You know, I'm tired of hearing about like, oh, the Jews control the media. Oh, let's talk to the media. You know, life is not fair.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you're doing a little bit of simplistic argument here, but like whenever you say, oh, my white race, like whenever somebody talks about the economic, the demographic displacement going on, would you consider that my white race, or is that a legitimate point by Bryden to be able to bring up?
That's a legitimate point. That's in the mainstream. Tucker Carlson has talked about that and actually suffered backlash as a result of it. Yeah, that's a legitimate point.
Okay. What kind of my white race talk are you talking about? Do you think everybody goes around howling Hitler and saying the white race must never die? Is that what you're saying? Because I don't see a lot of that.
People actually did that. It was over in Charlottesville. But
you were there too, and I don't remember a whole bunch of that, Bryden.
I was there, and I saw the NSM guys, those goofballs. I mean, people do that. And somebody in this chat, who was it in this chat, said Aryan. All right, don't say Aryan. Keep that word out your fucking mouth if you're trying to be a serious person. All right,
you don't get to say what words we can and can't say. Aryan's an actual thing. It existed before Hitler.
I'm giving, but that's what people associate it with, man. That's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to regulate what you say. I don't care what you say. After this live stream, we're probably never going to talk again. I'm not concerned about it. You just asked, and I responded. That type of thing is off-putting to a lot of people. Like most people, like every person. Okay, I mean, you can.
Okay,
you won't change any minds by being, you know, Aryan.
You like the word Aryan as a central thesis, a necessary word to preach about white displacement. It's not. It just came up in the hangout stream talking about a white guy that converted to Judaism. Very, very on the fly, very relaxed. I know. Nobody goes around talking about Aryan race, dude. But like what I'm saying here is
answering your question. You're getting really defensive here.
It seems like, no, I'm not. I'm just trying to talk to you. It seems like what you're doing is, you know, you're conflating preaching about the Aryan race and how that's bad optically, which, I mean, I would agree with you. You're conflating that with like talking about the parts of the economic thing that you want everybody to talk about and how it affects white people. Like, at what point does it stop being an economic argument and delve into my white race with you?
When you actually start talking about, you know, like white people this, white people that, and it's not a cultural or economic argument. When you get into we are being genetically outpaced, that is when you're going to lose people. Now, it's not that it's not a valid argument to like someone like me, but you're not trying to convince me. I'm already here with you. I understand. But you're not going to convince other people except weirdos on the internet who really aren't going to do anything for you. They're people without money, without influence, without anything going on in their lives, and that is what they latch onto. You need to convince middle America. And as far as Europe goes, I have no idea what the hell they're going to do. They're screwed. I know that. But if you want to actually reach people, you do need to look at the cultural shift and the economic shift. That's what you have to do. And honestly, who should be our greatest allies in any of this should be black folks, because we're having
Oh
a
my
Hispanic. No. Because hear me out. Because in the economic argument, because we've got really a giant influx of brown people, be they Hispanic, be they Arab or whatever, who are going to completely wreck the 85 guys over there. All right, so they're going to take their factory jobs, all of that. I'm not a big fan of black people. I like, I'll tell you right now, I'm not a fan of black people who don't rap. All right. Besides you're going to make more sense to just more people. Most people don't think about this. They just want to come home, have missionary position sex with their wife, hope their 16-year-old son doesn't hate them, and drink 3 beers out of a 6-pack and go back to work. If you talk about your job is going to be in jeopardy or your culture is going to be in jeopardy because people would rather have a CVS than a mariachi band equipment store, that's the things that people actually care about. Because Tucker's gotten into a lot of trouble with this recently, but they're poorer and dirtier. The caravan scared the crap out of a lot of people. It was very effective. Those images of the caravan, it scared a lot of people. If you talk about that versus like we're being genetically like outpaced in our breeding habits, you're going to reach more people because like that's a reality, and you can get them with that later on the backside. But that you should never lead with that.
But do you think that do you think that a lot of us lead with the racial thing and we don't make a big deal of the care?
Yes.
You're wrong then. You're wrong.
I'm not wrong. I know these people. I've been around for a while, guy. Like I know.
I know. I'm familiar. I used to listen to your show a lot whenever you were on what was it? Really? Third Rail?
Oh yeah. I was on Third Rail for 6 months, yeah.
Yeah, you made a lot more sense back then, but I'm not sure exactly what happened. But dude, like the caravan was the biggest talking point that I and everybody I know had going on for a very long time. And you talk about they want their CVS and they want 3 beers out of a 6-pack, and that's all lovely. But you and I know that those people are living in a false reality. And until it slaps them in the face with negative consequences by the rape, death, beating, robbery of one of their friends or family members, they're not going to know it's coming. It's just like those 2 girls that got beheaded in Ghana or wherever the hell they were. Like that's why did that happen? Because they were told their entire lives that everybody's equal and race is just a skin color, right? So we can go over there and be nice. I mean, these things are, you talk about real world, that's real world consequences. And I'll be a son of a bitch, like not talk about it because you say it's bad optics.
No. But the thing is, it will. But like you've got to think in the long run collectively. Like I mean, you're when it comes to your friends and family or whatever, fine, you can bring that up slyly with them. I'm just saying, as an overall message of people, it's not going to resonate because, and this is, I thought we all thought that the Jews run the media and like they lie to people and brainwash everybody. That's the brainwashing runs deep in such a thing, dude. Like you're going to lose points with people, just average people, if you bring that up and you lead with it, and people do lead with it.
Bryden,
what's up?
Can I jump in here real quick, Luke?
Yes, Rodney.
People for the last 50 years have been indoctrinated with this with kill, and the kill switch is on certain topics, and he's hit up right here. The Jews in the media, whatever, they don't hit that kill switch. It's been programmed to when certain things come up, the alt-right or dissident people, they hit that kill switch, for the opponent. So that's where he's going. That, I said earlier before young Luke came on that, you frame this argument with a position that the broader people can wrap their minds around, and then you bring them along. That's why this conversation is just picture perfect. This is echo chamber alt-right versus the real world.
Bryden, the Dallas Cowboys are about to play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What are your Manischewitz key to today's games?
I'm pretty sure that what they got to do is move the ball forward and.
Thank you. That was awesome. Really helpful. Now, you were at Charlottesville. What were you doing there? Were you the guy carrying the Nazi flag?
There's a video of it online. I wore my Yarmulke here, and I pretended to be a character. He's David Frank. He's a journalist from the Forward. So I went around on the Antifa side, which was real rough, not a nice group of dudes over there, ladies over there on the Antifa side. But I went over there and filmed them and like interviewed a couple of people and all that. It was scary. It was a scary event. But then Baked Alaska blew my cover because I was leaving because we were tear gassed and told to leave. They were tear gassing the Antifa. I was like, all right, time to leave. And then Baked Alaska blew my fucking cover and runs over and hugs me. So somewhere out there on the internet is a picture of Baked Alaska hugging me in a yarmulke in Charlottesville. But
but isn't that just like Baked though, Bryden? He's quite the opposite of the Midas Touch. He's quite literally the Baked Alaska. That's what we're going to have to call it from now on, when everything you touch turns to dust.
Baked is a friend of mine. He's been a friend for a long time. I like him a lot. But yeah, no, he did blow my cover. So yeah, he did fuck me over. So then I ended up having to stream with them and all of that. And overall it was a fun time. Besides the fact that 3 people died total, it was it was a fun time. Besides that,
Sargon's Patreon is as dead as his babies. Thank you. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, no, I was pretending to be a Jew. I was making a joke of it. Like I make a joke of everything. Like I showed up to make a joke of your stream, Luke. But now I like you.
Thank you. So you're on third rail for 6 months. So you're on the TRS Broadcasting Network.
Oh, I hated every minute of that. Yeah. I'm not a TRS fan. I dislike them a lot more for personal reasons that I'm not going to get into. Ever since the fact.
Please share.
Nah, I'm not. That drama's all dead and in the ground. But I was on third rail because actually Spectre had seen another funny stream where I was being David Frank over in DC, and I went and harassed Laura Loomer. I was on the show for 6 months, and then I quit. And I mean, that's really like the magic of it all. I really don't like that people think that I'm still a TRS person. Like I was never a TRS person. My show has never been on TRS. I hate the TRS crowd. Like, please block me and unfollow me if you're a TRS person. Like, I know 3 people over there that I still like. Leave me alone. I'm not TRS guy. And not that I don't want them to like.
Trust me.
What's that?
I said we don't follow you anyways, dude. Trust me. Nobody's thought about you in a while.
Wait, so you were part of the alt-right's most huggable podcast?
Yeah.
Gay.
Yeah, I agree. That show's boring without me.
I got a note in the chat. It says Bryden was burned by the TRS crowd. Did they burn you at the stake?
No, I don't think that's true. No.
Based on streams, he just kept getting drunk as fuck, and like they were like, "Hey, please stop day drinking during this podcast." I think they even moved it to the morning time so he would stop, and he wouldn't. He did just what he's doing now. He's fucking drinking and just made the shows unlistenable with his slurring. But go ahead, Bryden.
I love that you think that you know what was going on more than the 4 guys that were involved in that show. Like, that's great. That's why I don't like the TRS crowd, is like they just really speculate wildly.
You don't strike me as the type of guy who would be slurring during a podcast.
Oh no, I absolutely would. I do all the time. And I mean, he's half right. No, he's half right. The fact is, I was thinking of parting ways anyway. I still love Spectre. We're still buddies. But Spectre actually did. He did ask me to stop drinking. And I told him, no, I quit.
You're Irish, right? You
Yeah.
can't ask an Irishman to stop drinking.
Yeah, but no, I mean, I love the, what's your name? Who are you? The Mr. I haven't thought about you in a while. Nobody's thought of you in a while. Mr. fucking
Dingo.
alt-right goddamn echo fucking chamber over there with fucking, I don't even know who you are, pal. Like, do you know why? Because it's a giant internet and nobody cares about each other. We don't have to. We can all still
exist. That's not necessarily true, Bryden.
No, it is true.
I care about millions of young men around the nation, around the world.
Idiot.
I want people to genuinely improve themselves.
I hope all those people kill themselves so our votes don't count. Then I counteracted your vote. I hope all those people kill themselves.
Oh Lordy, this guy comes on. He's drinking in the morning. He's taking on everybody. This reminds me of a much younger and more Irish me.
I am gonna have to go get a cigar here in a second because I'm gonna need another beer. But that's like that's no, that's I mean, don't tell me, don't go show me like I know about you and the inner workings of you and Fetcher being friends.
You
or whatever.
you described everything I just said, except for the part where they said "fuck off." You said I quit. I wouldn't call that rampant speculation. I'd call that pretty fucking accurate.
I would call that I
confirmation.
talked about this. So has Spectre several times, but you guys over on your gay little forums like to, throw a fit every time I fart. It's amazing. Nobody's thought about me in a long time. You people are so upset all the time, and I'm not gonna go into fucking TRS drama bullshit, but it's like it's all the time. I hear about it, dummy. I hear about it. I get screenshots, idiot. Like, come on.
Bryden, how are you able to replace the income from TRS?
Yeah, no, they paid me so much. I definitely was paid for doing that.
So what did you do? You collected?
No, I was never paid for that. Nobody, third rail people don't get paid, buddy. I worked just a job. Like, yeah, they're not the paywall people. That's like that's just like Fascination and the Daily Show, and then like Monoxide. I would assume get something from it, but maybe not. I don't know. No, I was never paid anything for that. It was just fun. It was just a podcast with my friend.
So Southern Dingo, you still on TRS?
No, I hadn't been there in a while. I haven't made enemies out of them because they didn't want me on their network or anything. I still like them a lot, but
no, that's why.
But yeah, no. I'm sorry. I wasn't even referencing you. What did that strike a nerve? Because
no, you did because you're trying to come at me. Is what you're doing. No, that's what it is. I mean, if you want to go, we can fucking go. You dumbass. You alt-right idiot.
Hey, put the salt shaker away, dude. It's all good. We're all friends here.
I'd like to be your friend. I'd like to be your friend, but not. I mean, don't be a dick.
Well, what does the Christmas season mean to you, Bryden?
It's like rampant capitalism here in America. I mean, it's pretty crappy. I wish we made it about God, but we don't. So,
and
it's not even snowing here, dude. Like, it's just been rainy and crappy here in Cincinnati. So, it sucks. I wish if it snowed, maybe I'd be a little bit more in the Christmas spirit instead of being a Scrooge. But
maybe you should get a show on WKRP. Southern Dingo, what does Christmas mean to you?
I assume probably the same thing it means to a lot of other people. It's a celebration of birth of Jesus Christ. It's mainly family time. Whenever you talk about the real world feelings of it and everything, it's just a good time to be with family. A thing that white people don't really get to do a whole hell of a lot anymore because we're all working so fucking much.
And Otto in Kurdistan, what does Christmas mean to you?
Usually it means I don't know. Last year I had to have an artery open. So this year my head, even with the chest cold, there will be no life-threatening medical emergencies at Christmas. But I've been abroad for quite some time now, so usually it means going to eat whatever the local food is by myself. So in this case, it'd probably be mushik brinj wa fasolia.
Well, an increasing number of people like to spend Christmas with the Luke Ford show, so I hope you'll stop by. Bryden, who are the good Muslims? Are they the Shia or the Sunni?
Somebody told me they're the Sunni. I'm not really sure, honestly. I don't know. I don't F with the Muslims, dude. Like, I don't know. I just know that they're not Christian, so they tend to ruin Christian nations. Just, I don't know. I'm sure there's good ones out there. Not the guy to talk to about that. I'm not a religion guy.
I think Christians have ruined Christian nations. By caving into secular humanism. But that's just
what a low IQ boomer take. You can't stop, can you? Like, just is there a group of white people that you don't have something shitty to say about?
Oh, fuck off! You were so like low IQ. You didn't even listen to what I said. I said Christians have ruined Christian nations by caving to secular humanism. So think about that for a little bit.
I did hear that.
Okay.
And I'm saying that's point of view. Like, who pushes the materialist Christian stuff? Who
Okay,
started
get
that?
back on your knees. Get back on your knees. Get back on your knees. Get back on your
That
knees.
that doesn't even make sense. But whatever, Boomer.
Yeah.
Okay,
Get back
so
on your
Dingo, I'm
knees,
going to let
Gunner.
you go to bring other people on the show. So thanks so much for coming by, Dingo.